Good morning, ECO. This is the human population, studying human population of ECO. So I'm just going to go through these real quick. So there's something called demography. This is the study of the characteristics of populations, but usually we're also talking about human populations. So the actual scientists who study this, they're called demographers. They go through historic changes, and then they use that in order to predict future populations. So the countries with similar population trends are often grouped into two general categories, developed and developing countries. We see this a lot. So in blue, what you see are the quote unquote developed countries. These are what we're used to. Average higher income. So we're not looking at, having to use anywhere from $1 to $5 a day to live on. We can live on, $10 to $300 a day, depending on who you are, that kind of thing. They, on average, have slower population growth. So think about the size of your family versus the size of a developing country for someone in like sub-Saharan Africa, where the more children they have, the better it is for them. So they also have diverse industrial economies. So we have a lot of different businesses and a lot of different things that can go into our economy versus just one big industry. And we also have stronger social support systems, our government, and so between our government, our policies, along with all of our social things as well. So developing countries, on average, these the orange and red are the ones who are the lower developed countries. As you see here in Europe and parts of Russia, you've got a transition happening. So they were orange and they're starting to transition into this blue-purple color. On average, they have lower incomes. They generally have one type of income based on agriculture or some kind of production of one type of good. And they also have rapid population growth. So you have a lot of people giving birth to a lot of different children. You've also got a lower, higher age of mortality. So people are dying younger. So here in your notes, go ahead and hit pause. What is population growth like in developed countries versus developing countries as well? So moving on from that. So over time, our human population, we in the US especially went through an exponential growth in the 1800s. Remember, in history, this was your industrial revolution. Medicine really started to make a lot of big jumps as well. So the population growth rates were increasing during every single decade. Less deaths and a lot more births. These increases were mostly due to increases in food production and improvements in hygiene as well. So you've got more food and you have better health. All of that is going to lead to a healthier person who's able to live a lot longer. However, it is unlikely that the Earth can sustain this growth for much longer. I think the current carrying capacity of the Earth is about 11 billion people from what I remember reading. Don't quote me on that though. So looking at this graph, this is an exponential growth graph. This is the world population over time based on years. So way back here where it says 10,000, that's 10,000 BCE. Okay, so that's BCE, remember, refers to before Common Era. So you've got, we're in 2020, well, 2020 years ago added on to that 10,000. So this is where we're starting. Remember, your y-axis has population in billions. So this is 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, all that stuff. Here, about 9,000 BCE, you have the domestication of plants and animals. This is when farming really started to have its very small start. And then you have your big empires that are really getting going. And then all of a sudden, the Romans and the Greeks really, really took off with a lot of their stuff. And we have this exponential growth. You have a few dips here. This was the bubonic plague, massive change in our population, but still overall, we have this massive, massive change starting in the late 1800s. So looking at these graphs, they look like really, really weird shapes, but they make sense. We always compare our males to our females. It's generally going to be about a 50-50 on average, but depending on the age structures, the higher up you get, generally you're going to get some evenness or some differences. So with your age structure, it's the classification of the different members of a population into your groups based on your ages. So it's based on 5-year breaks. So this is the percent